Which version of the Bible is more mystical, would you say? English or French? That's the question I would like to address today. I think that as a rule in the Bible there's always an unusual choice of words, by today's standards at least, and these words are usually conjunctions and prepositions, but there's also word order and the hierarchy of the parts of the sentence that contributes to our perception of the message. The less ordinary the language, obviously, the more it's suited to convey something mystical, profound, or even magical. So I compared two passages in French and in English, so the exact same passage in French and in English, as a bilingual, as a native of French and English, and here's what I found. And for English I'll be using King James Version from 1611 and the French version by Louis Segond from 1910. And this passage is called Numbers 1. Let's start. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation, on the first day of the second month, in the second year after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying... Well, the first thing that strikes us is, of course, the fact of starting a sentence on a conjunction. And the Lord spake unto Moses. The Lord spoke to Moses in modern English. Lots of repetitions of prepositions, conjunction here, and, in, on, in. They were come out of the land of Egypt, saying. It doesn't read very clearly, does it? It's not very easily accessible. It's very unusual to start a sentence on and the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai, in the tabernacle of the congregation, on the first day. It's a lot of repetition. The rhythm is very unusual. Let's look at the French version. L'Éternel parla à Moïse dans le désert du Sinaï, dans la tente d'assignation, le premier jour du second mois, la seconde année après leur sortie du pays d'Égypte. Il dit, frankly, it's a lot clearer in French. I have a clear idea what's going on. I had understood in the English version that the Lord was speaking to Moses and it happened in the desert. In French, it's infinitely clearer. They call him the Eternal, they don't call him God or the Lord. The Eternal spoke to Moses in the... what's unusual is the number of details given. You know, it was in the desert, in the tent, when, on the first day of the second month, the second year after they came back from Egypt. Despite this, it's a lot more clearer. In the French version, they're not starting with "et." And the Eternal spoke to Moses. They don't do this. They just go straight to the subject. Who's doing what? L'Éternel parla à Moïse. There's no two ways of saying this. Where, dans le désert du Sinaï, so far so good, there's nothing unusual about this, even in modern French. L'Éternel parla à Moïse dans le désert du Sinaï, dans la tente d'assignation. That might be a bit weird. You're stacking the information here. Dans la tente d'assignation, comme le premier jour du second mois, la seconde année après leur sortie du pays d'Égypte. Other than that, it's quite accessible. Take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls. I can't say it's very clear to me what's happening. So I understand the word sum, so I understand that someone is telling someone else to go and count people. I get that part. In all honesty, when I read the French version, I thought, oh, they're mentioning males here. Specifically males. Why doesn't the English version mention males? And then I saw, oh yeah, males is actually at the very end of the passage. So instead of saying count all the males in Israel, they say take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel. So go and count after their families. Not sure what that means. Again, repetitions of prepositions: after, by, with, of, by. Repeating a lot of prepositions that are strangely placed here. After their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls. And the word male is right at the end of the sentence here, and I had missed it initially. So take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel, after their families, by the house of their fathers, with the number of their names, every male by their polls. I'm not exactly sure what it means. And in French it reads, faites le dénombrement de toute l'assemblée des enfants d'Israël selon leurs familles, selon les maisons de leurs pères, en comptant par tête le nom de tous les mâles. It's a lot more clear to me. Faites le dénombrement. Today you'd say, faites la somme, or allez compter, go and count, or faites la somme, make the sum total. Le dénombrement is probably a bit odd, but faites is go out and do, go out and... In English, they said, take ye or make ye. Take ye, that's right, yeah. Take ye the sum. So, faites le dénombrement. I think it's modern enough. De toute l'assemblée. The word assembly is a bit odd here. Because they could have skipped it. They didn't need the word assembly. They could have said, faites le dénombrement de tous les enfants d'Israël. Go and count all the children of Israel, and it would have been enough. Selon leur famille. Selon. You know, we spoke about prepositions and conjunctions, so these are a bit strangely placed. En fonction, today you'd say en fonction de leur famille, en fonction des maisons de leur père, selon les maisons de leur père, en comptant par tête le nom de tous les mâles. That is extremely clear to me. They're telling someone to go out and count all the males in Israel. From 20 years old and upward, all that are able to go forth to war in Israel, thou and Aaron shall number them by their armies. Frankly, I'm not sure what this means. From 20 years old and upward, I get that they want people who are aged 20 and upwards. All that are able to go forth to war in Israel, okay, everyone who's of fighting age, you and Aaron shall number them by their armies. That I'm not sure what it means. I think it means, I don't know what it means. And in French, depuis l'âge de 20 ans et au-dessus, okay, tous ceux d'Israël en état de porter les armes, that's very, very clear. Everyone from Israel old enough to bear arms, tous ceux d'Israël en état de porter les armes, vous en ferez le dénombrement selon leur division, toi et Aaron. Depuis l'âge de 20 ans et au-dessus, why not? It's accessible. Tous ceux d'Israël en état de porter les armes, very clear. Vous en ferez le dénombrement. It's a bit antiquated, but it's clear enough. You'll count them all. Selon leur division isn't clear to me. I don't know if it's a military term, an army division. I'm not really sure what that means. You and Aaron. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of the house of his fathers. Again, starting a sentence on a conjunction, and with you there shall be. They like to use the word shall quite a lot. It seems very grave, very, very weighty, very, very solemn. And with you there shall be a man of every tribe, every one head of the house of his fathers. I think I'm missing a bit of context here, but I sort of understand what they mean. In French, il y aura avec vous un homme par tribu, chef de la maison de ses pères. That's a lot more modern, a lot more accessible. There will be, with you, one man for every tribe, who is also the head of the house of his fathers or his ancestors. Okay, so to conclude this short exercise, I just compared the same passage in two different languages. My perception is that the French version is a lot more up to date. Occasionally there are some unusual choices of prepositions, but nothing too shocking, nothing too out of the ordinary. In English, however, it's a very different matter. What's interesting to me here is that we can ask ourselves how much this influences the perceived spirituality of the words that are written. Because the more ordinary the language, well, the more ordinary the message, in a way. The French version doesn't at all sound like the booming voice of God for whatever reason. There isn't the tools to make it sound like that. Although I must say also, I don't know how much I'm interpreting the English version through my own conditioning and prior exposure to the message. The larger question to me is how each linguistic group perceives the message of the Bible. Could it be that the English group, the English-speaking group, sees more magic in the Bible than the French group does, since the language is a lot more ordinary in French? In everyday life, I feel that we see this in tattoos, for example. It may seem very anecdotal, but I've never seen a tattoo from the Bible in French. Never in my life. And even after searching on Google, I didn't manage to find any. No phrase taken from the Bible that a person would want to get tattooed in French. But of course, plenty in English, which of course could be due to cultural factors, but as a native speaker of English, I would see how the English version would be a lot more suited to a solemn message a person would get tattooed. In French, the message would almost sound too ordinary to get tattooed. You're missing this solemn language, this magical phrasing that makes it stick out from ordinary language. And before I finish this video, of course, I'm not trying to shock anyone. I'm not claiming this is objectively true. I haven't conducted a scientific survey or research. I'm not saying that what I'm saying is universally measurable or that it's objectively true. What I'm describing is my perception as a native speaker of French and English, supported by brief grammatical observations. I find the French version of the Bible a lot less mystical and a lot more accessible. I almost want to say ordinary than the English version, and how much this influences the perception of the Bible from each linguistic group is the question I'm asking.